Bill Gates just announced the date and time of the new virus, SEERS-25. The small village of Xi'an in China was the first place to report the strange new virus that would soon shake the world to its core. It all started with a young farmer named Liu, who was brought to the local hospital with a high fever, persistent cough, and difficulty breathing. The doctors were stumped. None of them had ever seen anything like this before. Liu's condition quickly worsened, and he passed away within a week of being admitted to the hospital. As news of Liu's death spread, more and more people in the village began to fall ill with the same symptoms. Panic set in as the virus spread rapidly, and soon, cases were being reported all over the country. The Chinese government quickly took action, implementing strict quarantine measures and travel bans in an attempt to contain the outbreak. But it was too late. The virus had already spread beyond their borders, and soon cases were being reported all over the world. The virus was given the name SEERS-25, and it was unlike anything the scientific community had ever seen before. It was more contagious than COVID-19, and its symptoms were strange and varied. The most common symptoms were fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, but some patients also reported strange rashes and hallucinations. The virus seemed to affect some people much more severely than others, and it was causing a higher number of deaths in younger, healthy individuals. The origins of SEERS-25 were shrouded in mystery. Some experts believed that it may have originated in animals, possibly bats, and was then transmitted to humans. Others speculated that it may have been artificially created in a laboratory. The truth, however, remained a mystery. SEERS-25 stands for Severe Epidemic Enterovirus Respiratory Syndrome 2025. That's the name for a pandemic simulation that was completed in October 2017. It was conducted by the Center for Health Security at Johns Hopkins University under the guise of Event 201, but Bill Gates and other high-level ministers were also involved. It was said to be a futuristic scenario, just like the simulation for COVID-19, which took place in 2012 and then played out almost exactly as in the simulation. Coincidence or planned? The SEERS-25 virus is said to be the pathogen Naegleria fowleri, brain-eating amoeba. In 2018, 381 cases of Naegleria fowleri were currently counted worldwide, many in countries such as India, Thailand, the United States, China, and Japan, for example. In the United States, the mortality rate in 2021 was 97%, 154 cases. The simulation continues as follows. As the virus spread, the world watched in horror as the death toll continued to climb. Hospitals were overrun, and medical staff were stretched to their limits. The race was on to find a vaccine and treatment for SEERS-25, but the virus seemed to be one step ahead, mutating and evolving at an alarming rate. The world was in a state of panic. People were hoarding supplies, and governments were implementing strict quarantine measures in an attempt to slow the spread of the virus. But the virus was relentless. It seemed to be one step ahead, finding new ways to evade detection and infect more and more people. The virus was taking its toll on the global economy. Businesses were shutting down and people were losing their jobs. Families were struggling to make ends meet, and the future looked bleak. As the death toll continued to rise, the world was in desperate need of a hero. And that's when Dr. Zhang stepped up to the plate. A young scientist from the small village of Xi'an, Dr. Zhang had returned to the village to help find a cure for the virus. He had been working tirelessly in the lab, studying the virus and trying to find a way to stop it. Dr. Zhang and his team worked tirelessly day and night, and finally, after months of hard work, they'd had a breakthrough. They had developed a vaccine that was effective against the virus. The vaccine was quickly distributed to hospitals and clinics all over the world, and the number of new cases began to drop. The world breathed a sigh of relief as the death toll began to drop and hope was restored. Dr. Zhang and his team had saved the world, and he was hailed as a hero. The virus had been defeated, but the world would never forget the devastation it had caused. The memories of lost loved ones would live on, and the lessons learned from the outbreak would shape the way the world prepared for future pandemics. As the world began to recover from the SEERS-25 outbreak, the scientific community was determined to uncover the truth behind the virus's origins. A team of scientists led by Dr. Zhang was formed to investigate the possible sources of the virus. They scoured the small village of Xi'an, where the outbreak had first been reported, for any clues that could lead them to the virus's origin. After weeks of research and testing, the team discovered that the virus had originated in bats that lived in a cave located near the village. They had found traces of the virus in bats and were able to confirm that the virus had jumped from bats to humans. But the real irony was that the cave was a popular tourist destination, known for its bat-watching tours and bat-themed souvenirs. The irony was not lost on the team, as they couldn't help but wonder how many people contracted the virus while on a bat-watching adventure. The discovery of the virus's origin in bats led to a new wave of research focused on understanding how the virus had adapted to infect humans. The team worked tirelessly to identify the genetic mutations that allowed the virus to infect humans and cause the severe symptoms seen in the outbreak. They even jokingly referred to the virus as the bat flu due to its origins. Their research was groundbreaking, and their findings were published in leading scientific journals. As the world continued to recover from the outbreak, governments and organizations began to invest heavily in research to better understand zoonotic diseases and the ways in which they could be prevented in the future. With the knowledge gained from the SEERS-25 outbreak, the world was better prepared for future pandemics. Dr. Zhang and his team continued their research, working to develop a treatment for the virus that could be used in the event of another outbreak. They also worked to develop a way to detect the virus in bats before it could jump to humans. They couldn't help but chuckle at the thought of bat-watching tours being replaced with bat-testing tours. Their hard work paid off, and they were able to develop a treatment that was effective against the virus. The world had finally defeated the SEERS-25 virus. But the memory of the outbreak would live on. The loss of life and the devastation caused by the virus would never be forgotten. But the world had emerged stronger and better prepared for future pandemics. Thanks to the tireless work of scientists like Dr. Zhang and his team, the world would be better equipped to face any threat that might come its way. And who knows, maybe next time, the world would be ready for a bat flu outbreak. As the years passed, the world continued to be vigilant against the threat of zoonotic diseases. Dr. Zhang and his team became renowned experts in the field, traveling the world to advise governments and organizations on how to prevent and respond to potential outbreaks. They were also invited to speak at conferences and universities to share their knowledge and experience in dealing with SEERS-25. Their work took them to remote areas where they discovered new and unknown viruses that could potentially pose a threat to humanity. They were always ready to investigate and take samples to bring back to their lab to investigate. They were determined to uncover any potential threats before they could become a global pandemic. During one of their trips, they discovered a new virus in bats in a remote cave in South America. They were able to isolate the virus and began studying it in the lab. But as they were analyzing the virus, they noticed something peculiar. The virus was eerily similar to SEERS-25. It seemed as if the virus had not only survived, but it had evolved and adapted to a new host, the bats. Dr. Zhang and his team knew that they had to act quickly to prevent another outbreak. They immediately contacted the World Health Organization and other international health organizations to alert them of their findings. They also reached out to other scientists and researchers in the field to collaborate and share information to fight the new virus. The world was once again on high alert as the threat of a new outbreak loomed. Governments and organizations scrambled to prepare for the potential outbreak, implementing measures to prevent the spread of the virus. They closed borders, restricted travel, and implemented quarantine measures. Dr. Zhang and his team had the knowledge and experience gained from their work on SEERS-25, and they were able to develop a treatment and a vaccine much faster than they had before. They also worked on developing a better diagnostic test for the virus that would detect it early on. Thanks to the early warning and the rapid response, the new outbreak was contained before it could become a global pandemic. The world breathed a sigh of relief as the threat of the virus was neutralized. Dr. Zhang and his team had once again saved the world from a deadly outbreak. They had proven that with knowledge, preparation, and quick actions, the world could defeat even the deadliest of viruses. But is Bill Gates the mastermind behind it? Or was it all just a coincidence?